variable. If I had 3x plus 2y equals 7, what numbers are in front of some variables on that? Give me one. 3. The other one would be 2. 7 is not a coefficient because there's no variable behind it. We actually call a number with no variable behind it a constant. Okay? Constant. Okay. So what is solving by elimination? So solving by elimination, what we're going to do is we are going to today multiply 1. Tomorrow it's going to be or both equations by a number to get opposite coefficients. So we're going to multiply one of our equations by a number to get opposite coefficients with the equation below. Once we do that, we're going to add the two equations together. And this is where the word elimination comes into play. The reason we add the two equations together is to eliminate one variable. Okay, so before I do these examples, reading this, you might not know what I mean. This is what I mean. Let's say I had 2x plus 3y equals 7, and negative 2x plus 4y equals 14. Do you see on the top row that the coefficient of x is 2? Do you see in the second row that the coefficient of x is negative 2? What we can do with systems, because those two we're trying to find when they're the same, is you can add them together. When we add these two equations together, watch what happens. What's 2x plus negative 2x? 0. It's gone. Yay. What's 3y plus 4y? 7y. What's 7 plus 14? 21. Do you see how then you could solve for y? All right. But what's going to happen today is sometimes they're not going to be opposites, and so we're going to multiply by something to get them to be opposites. That's our goal. So at first, that's just what we're going to practice. On number 1, what could you multiply this top row by to get opposite coefficient of the bottom row of x? So let's go to the bottom row. What's in front of the x? Negative 6. That's the coefficient of x in the bottom row. I'll say my question again. What would you multiply the top row by to get an opposite coefficient to that? You could just show me with hands if you want. Okay, I'm seeing a 2. Notice when I do this, do you see how I put a parentheses around the whole thing? Because you're going to make sure that you multiply both sides of that equation by 2. Okay, that's going to be our first step. Okay, that's all I was asking. We're not going to move forward yet. All right, let's look at question 2. what could you multiply the bottom equation by to get opposite coefficient on the y terms? All right, so here I have a 1/2. Here I have a 2. What could you multiply the bottom by to get the opposite of this? What's the opposite of 2? -2. Okay, so I'm saying, what would I multiply this bottom row by to get this to be a -2? Say it louder.
-4.
Thank you. -4. That's multiplied by a -4. I'll put times there. -4 times 1/2 would give me a -2. Okay. So that's our first step, identifying what we want to multiply by. Now let's put that with the solving piece. Okay. Sometimes I didn't tell you which one, but sometimes you don't have to multiply by anything at all. First, look and see, does any term have opposite coefficients? Tell me if you see it. Okay, which one? X. It has a 2 and -2 already. I don't need to multiply by anything. Our next step is, would you put an addition sign here, and would you add those equations down and tell me what you get for the resulting equation? I got 12y equals 12. Okay, what's y? Okay, so now I have one of my variables. So the next step is the same as what we would do with substitution. You have to find x, right? So what we're going to do next is we're going to take out in one of our two equations the y and replace it with an x. I'm going to do the top one. If you want to do the bottom one, you should get the same answer. So up above, I go 2x plus 3 times 1 equals 11. Would you solve that for me, please? All right, did you get x equals 4? Good. So then either leave it like this where I can clearly see both of your answers, or we can write it as an ordered pair. Okay, your turn. Would you try number 4 on your own? Okay. Don't get confused by 0, guys. 0 is a number. So these, if you add those together, you should get negative 8y equals 0. You can do this if you want, but if you have a product of things and they equal 0, that just means the other number has to be 0. Some of you got that. Okay, now what? Plug it back in. Go up to the top. So 6x minus 3 times 0 equals 3. What does x equal? Half, or 0.5. So you could write it as 0.5 or 1/2. That's fine. Oh, man. Stinking fractions. All right. We'll do that one last. We'll save that one for last. No, because we're going to do whiteboard, so.
Okay, because I did.
All right. Ooh, on 6. Don't try to add, because if you would add right now, you'd get a 9x, and then you'd get a negative 5y. Did anything drop out? No. What that means is we're going to have to multiply one of the rows by something. Raise your hand if you see what it is. You're going to have to multiply one of the rows by something to get opposite of the bottom. Okay, I'm hearing a 2. Is that what you thought too, Giovanni? Okay, so why did Jaden pick 2? Because he knows that 2 times 5 would give him 10. And he sees this as a negative 10. All right, let's do it. Let's do the top row by 10. What's 2 times 2? Sorry, top row by 2. What's 2 times 2? 4x. 2 times 5 plus 10y. Don't forget this side. 2 times 12 is 24. Right below it, I don't have to do anything to the bottom. Do we see that we have a 10y and a negative 10y? So you can eliminate either variable. Would you add these equations together? 4x plus 7x is 11x. What's 24 plus 14? 38. I don't think this is going to be really nice. That's okay. Let's divide by 11. What do you get? 3.45 repeating. All right, let's go, and we're going to need a calculator for this one. Let's plug that in up here and solve. You can use the original equation. I would prefer using the original because the numbers are smaller, but you could also use the one you multiplied by as well. Okay. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 38 divided by 11 on my calculator, not 38 divided by 1, because then that will put that decimal in there for me, and your calculators will do the same thing. And then you can just go like this, times 2, and your calculator will take that, and you get 6.91. I'm going to subtract it from 12. I get 5.09. If you're rounding these are okay. I'm just doing it on my calculator. And then last, that's 5y equals 5.09, repeating, divide by 5. So I get 1.018 for y. Okay. I wouldn't do this with fractions, but I'll show you how you would do it with fractions. I would clear the fractions, so I really would like to put this on tomorrow's assignment, or tomorrow's notes. But earlier on in the semester, do you guys remember how we cleared fractions by multiplying? Like 3 and a 2 go into what? 6. Yeah, and same with the bottom. So I would kind of go around it by that route, but if we're doing what we were doing today, what we would do is we'd want to multiply the top row by something to get a 1/6. So I would multiply the top row by 1/3, because 1/3 times 1/2, negative 1/2 gives me negative 1/6. But I'm going to save this one for when we do 2 changes. So we're going to save that for what we do tomorrow. Okay, here's what I need you to do. Leave this